One of the closest men to Lil Durk went live and did the one thing his side is never supposed to do.
I ain't no hater, folk. I'ma give you one, folk.
He played his enemy's song, then he gave the man his flowers, and the blood behind this beef is the part nobody was ready for. The clip that broke the timeline. Let me set the scene for you, because in this story, the setting is half of the whole thing. It is the middle of July, in the year 2026. Two of the loudest names in streaming, Dean the Great and the former boxing champion Adrian Bronner, the man everybody just calls AB, are live on camera once again. If you have followed their run this year, then you already know exactly what these streams look like. They are long, they are loud, they are messy in the best way possible. These are the kind of marathon streams that go on for hours and hours, packed with rappers dropping in, music blasting out of the speakers, and arguments breaking out over nothing. Nothing is scripted. You never know who is going to walk through the door, and you never know what they are going to say once they get comfortable in the chair. On this night, one of the guests sitting inside all of that chaos is a man named Doodie Lo. Now, if you do not live and breathe this world, that name might not mean very much to you yet, so let me explain to you why it means everything right here. Doodie Lo is not some random face in the crowd. He is a longtime member of Only the Family, the label and the crew that most people know by 3 letters, OTF, and OTF is Lil Durk's house. Doodie Lo is one of Durk's close friends. He came up out of Kankakee, Illinois, a small city that sits about an hour south of Chicago, and he has been rolling under the OTF banner for years now. He is family. He is inside the circle. He is one of the people you would expect to hold the line no matter what happens. And that history is exactly what makes what happened next so hard to believe, because Doodie Lo is not just an OTF name on paper. He has real roots in this thing. His most famous moment came alongside the late King Von, on a song and video called Me and Doodie Lo, where the two of them stood side by side as close associates for the whole world to see. This is a man who is woven into the fabric of the whole movement. So when he does something that seems to cut against that movement, people notice, and people talk. Somewhere in the middle of all that noise on the stream, Doodie Lo decides to pull up some music. But he does not pull up one of his own songs. He does not pull up a Durk song, he pulls up NBA Youngboy. He plays a Youngboy record called Lonely Child, and here comes the part that made the whole internet stop scrolling in its tracks. He does not laugh at it, he does not talk down on it, he does not treat it like it belongs to the enemy. He sits there, he lets it play, and he gives the man his flowers right there on camera for everybody watching to see with their own eyes.
Oh, you gotta give respect where respect due.
Those are not the words you expect to hear coming out of a core member of OTF. The second a Youngboy song starts playing, and he does not stop there either. He makes it plain that this is not hate. He tells everybody watching in his own plain words that he is not a hater and that he is going to give the man his due. He is not being sarcastic. He is not setting up some punchline that is about to flip on you. He means it. He heard the record, he felt the record, and he said out loud the thing that a whole lot of people are scared to say. The music is good, the music is hard, and good is good, no matter whose name is stamped on it. Now watch how fast the internet moved once this got out. Clips of the moment got chopped up and posted almost right away. On the evening of July 19th, rolling on into the next day, Youngboy fan pages jumped on it first. One account posted the clip with a caption pointing out exactly what had happened. That Durk's own affiliate was on stream playing Lonely Child and saying he is not a hater. And that post raced past 100,000 views in no time at all. Then the bigger machines picked it up and ran. Academics TV shared its own version with the very same framing. My Mixtape has pushed the footage out too, and once the big pages start carrying something like this, it stops being just a clip. It turns into a whole conversation, and that conversation split right down the middle into 2 camps that could not stop going back and forth at each other. The first camp was pure shock. These were the people who simply could not wrap their heads around it. To them, this did not add up. This is a longtime OTF affiliate. This is one of Lil Durk's close friends. This is a man with real personal ties to the late King Von. On paper, this is the last person on this earth who should be sitting on a live stream putting respect on a Youngboy song. For them, it felt like watching somebody break a rule that everybody thought was carved into stone. The second camp saw something completely different. They saw a grown man being honest for once. They called it maturity. They called it giving flowers. They said it was talent, recognizing talent, plain and simple. To them, this was not weakness, and it was not switching sides. It was a person refusing to pretend that good music is somehow bad music just because of who made it. And a few of them said something even more interesting. They said this was not as random as it looked. They said if you had been paying real attention, this was not the first time Doodie Lo had talked about Youngboy like this. Hold on to that thought because we are coming back to it later. And it flips this entire story upside down. But here's what you have to understand. Before we go one step further in this culture, what Doodie Lo did is not normal. It is rare. In drill music and in street rap in general, you do not play the other side's music and praise it out in the open. You especially do not do it while the leader of your crew, the man whose name you carry, is sitting behind bars right now. Playing an opponent's record and hyping it up can get read as soft. It can get read as disloyal. It can get read as breaking ranks with the entire team. So when a core OTF voice does it out loud, live with the world watching, that is not a small thing at all. That is the kind of thing that makes people ask, what in the world is going on? So why did this one clip send grown men in the comments section into a full meltdown? Because this is not just about one record on one stream. It runs so much deeper than that. And to understand why this moment landed like an earthquake, you cannot start in 2026. You have to go all the way back to one deadly night in Atlanta in the year 2020, because that night is where the blood in this whole story begins. The night in Atlanta that started it all. On November 6th in the year 2020 in downtown Atlanta. It is the middle of the night outside a spot called the Monaco Hookah Lounge. King Von, whose real name was Davon Bennett, is 26 years old, and he is one of the brightest young stars Chicago drill has ever produced. He is Lil Durk's little brother in the movement. He is Doodie Lo's close associate, and what starts as a physical fight outside that lounge quickly turns into gunfire. By the time it is over, multiple people have been shot, and 3 of them are dead. One of the dead is King Von. The person arrested and charged in connection with Von's death was a man named Timothy Leaks, better known as Lul Tim, who was an associate of the Savannah rapper Quando Rondo. Parts of the confrontation were even caught on surveillance footage. In the time that followed, Lul Tim and others on that side described the shooting as a defensive one, claiming that Von's group came at Quando first. And here is a turn a lot of casual fans do not know. Those murder charges against Lul Tim were eventually dropped in August of 2023, before the case ever reached an indictment, with his lawyer confirming it had been dismissed. So the man charged in the death of one of Chicago's biggest stars walked away from the charge, and that fact alone kept this fire burning for years. But you might be asking a simple question right now. What does any of this have to do with NBA Youngboy? He was not there. He did not pull a trigger. So why is his name tied to it at all? The answer is one connection that changed everything. Back in June of 2018, Quando Rondo had signed to Youngboy's own label, Never Broke Again. That made Quando one of the early artists on Youngboy's roster. So the moment Von died in that Atlanta parking lot, a straight line got drawn from Chicago and OTF all the way over to Youngboy's camp. It was no longer just street against street, it became camp against camp, and the whole rap world could see it. Now the tension did not start on that night. There was already bad blood in the air before any shots were ever fired. King Von had already mocked and dismissed Youngboy in interviews and online, the way rappers in this world often do to get under each other's skin. But those were just words. Those were just jabs. What happened in Atlanta took a war of words and soaked it in something real and permanent. After that night, this was no longer something people could laugh off. It became the defining feud in the culture, and both sides treated it as unfinished business. The war then moved into the music, and it got loud. Youngboy started putting out material that many listeners took as pointed references to the situation, including songs that name-checked O-Block and Atlanta violence in ways that Durk and his circle read as disrespect toward Von's memory. And then came the day it all boiled over into the open. On February 22nd, in the year 2022, both men fired their biggest shots on the exact same day. Lil Durk dropped a drill record called HHH, widely understood as his direct response, addressing the aftermath of Von's death and taking aim at Youngboy's circle. And within just hours while he was sitting on house arrest, Youngboy answered back with a song called I Hate Youngboy. That Youngboy record was not a soft jab. It was one of the most direct entries in the entire feud. Without naming Durk in every single bar, it went after him again and again. It referenced Von's death. It name-dropped people close to Durk. It was recognized right away as a full-scale reply, the kind of song you only make when there is no coming back. And instead of ending things, that same-day exchange only locked the two camps in even tighter. From that point on, the beef kept living through more music, more social media, and more public moments, with no clean ending in sight. And the layers underneath this feud go even deeper than the songs do. Part of the early friction was personal, tied to relationships and connections that crossed between the two worlds, including reports about Youngboy's former partner having ties inside Chicago circles. But the heaviest layer of all is the one that turned music into a matter of life and death. In 2022, a Quando Rondo associate known as Lul Pab was shot and killed, and that killing later became part of the federal allegations against Durk and OTF affiliates. Allegations that reached all the way to claims of murder for hire. So this was never just rappers trading insults over a beat. Real people kept dying, and the courts got pulled into it. That is the weight sitting on top of every word in this beef. And this is not old history that faded away either. This thing stayed alive and stayed dangerous. As recently as October of 2025, Youngboy performed I Hate Youngboy on a stage in Atlanta while standing next to Lil Tim, the very man who had been charged in Von's death. Think about how loud a statement that is in that city with that person standing right there. On top of all that, Lil Durk has been fighting a serious federal case that prosecutors have connected to alleged retaliation tied to this conflict. Durk is incarcerated right now. So for a lot of fans and a lot of affiliates, this situation is not a memory. It is happening in real time today, so now zoom all the way back out and look at where Doodie Lo is standing. He is standing inside all of that. This is his crew. This is his leader sitting behind bars over a conflict tied to this very feud. This is his close associate, King Von, who died on that night in Atlanta. And here he is on a live stream playing the music of the man whose own label artist was there the night Von was killed. When you lay it all out like that, you start to understand why the comment sections lost their minds. On the surface, this looks less like music appreciation and more like walking across a line that was drawn in blood. And to make the shock even sharper, understand who is on the other side of this war. Youngboy is not some soft target. He has built himself into a fortress, a man who has spoken openly about how hard prison and pressure made him. Listen to how he describes his own path.
My last arrest was the best thing that happened to me.
He does not say it made him softer. He says the opposite. He says it taught him to shut people out and to stop expecting anyone to be there for him at all.
It taught me how to not have feelings. It really taught me how to not want nobody to be there for me at all.
So this is the man at the center of it all. Hardened, guarded, and locked in a feud that got somebody killed, which brings us right back to the question that started this whole thing. If the history between these two sides is this deep, and this personal, and this bloody, then why on earth would a loyal OTF soldier ever put respect on this man's name in public? Was it a slip of the tongue? Was it a quiet betrayal of everything his crew stands for? Or was it something else entirely? Something the angry comments never even considered? The answer is not what most people think. And once you hear it, this whole story changes shape. Why he really did it. Here comes the twist that flips everything you just heard. For all of the shock, and for all of the people screaming betrayal, the truth is that this was not new, and it was not a switch. Doodie Lo has been saying a version of this for years. He just finally showed it live on a stream, instead of saying it into a microphone across from an interviewer. The people who called it random simply had not been paying attention, because the receipts go back a long way. Go back to January of 2022. Doodie Lo sat down with No Jumper, and Adam22 asked him about Youngboy in the most direct way possible. He asked how he felt about Youngboy, about the disses aimed at Durk, about O-Block showing up in the raps.
How you feel about NBA Youngboy?
And instead of taking the bait and firing back, Doodie Lo did something that told you exactly where his head was at. He waved the whole thing off as noise.
I don't care about internet stuff. I don't care about nothing that create narratives.
Right.
He kept drawing that same line over and over, the line between what happens online and what happens in real life. To him, the music and the internet were one thing, and real life was a completely separate thing.
That's the internet and its real world.
Read between those words, and you can see the whole picture forming. He was telling you years ago that he does not carry the music beef around as a personal grudge. He was telling you that he does not feed into the stories that the internet builds up. So the stream moment was not him flipping. It was him being the exact same person he told you he was back then. And that No Jumper sit down was not a one-time thing either. Fast forward to July of 2025, when Doodie Lo sat for a long, deep interview on the Danza project. It was a huge conversation that covered his near-fatal shooting, his relationship with Durk, and the state of rap beef itself. And buried inside it was a whole segment about NBA Youngboy, including a related clip that even put the question right in the title, asking about his respect for Youngboy. In that talk, he worked through a simple hypothetical, what he would actually do if he ran into Youngboy in person at a grocery store like a Publix, and his answer lined up with everything else. It was not hostile, it was not personal, it was a man who separates a person from a narrative. Then in 2026, he was asked about it yet again, given everything that happened with Von. And this time he said it about as plainly as a person can. He said, and I'm quoting him here, that he does not feel any type of way because Youngboy had nothing to do with what happened to Von, and that the whole thing is just music. He kept stressing the one fact that matters most to him. Youngboy was not the person in that physical incident that took Von's life. So in his mind, there is no personal reason to carry hatred toward the man himself. Once you line up January of 2022, July of 2025, and his words in 2026, a clear pattern jumps out. This is not a man who changed. This is a man who has been telling you the same thing for years, finally showed it on camera. But there is one more piece to this, and it might be the smartest part of the whole moment. It is the song he chose. He did not pull up a recent diss track. He did not pull up something loaded with shots at Durk or O-Block. He pulled up Lonely Child, and that choice matters more than you might think. The song came out on Youngboy's project AI Youngboy 2 back in October of 2019, and it is one of the softest, saddest, most honest records Youngboy has ever made. It is not about OPPs, it is not about violence, it is about loneliness, about the pain of losing a close friend, about a strained family, and about wanting to be understood. There are no shots at Durk in it. There are no shots at OTF or Chicago in it. It is pain music, plain and simple. Even Pitchfork pointed to it at the time for leaning into Youngboy's crooning vulnerable side, and that is exactly why picking that song lowered the temperature of the whole gesture. Because you can respect a record like that without ever touching the war. To understand what Lonely Child is really made of, listen to how Youngboy talks about his own life away from the cameras. This is the same man from part 2, the hardened one.
I'm 4 walls all day, every day.
But here's the other half of him. That is the loneliness the song is built out of, straight from his own mouth. And he has been just as open about how heavy it all sits on him.
It's all about how you go about it, and I'm not that strong.
So think about what Doodie Lo actually reacted to on that stream. He did not co-sign a diss. He did not join Youngboy's side. He heard a broken, honest human record from a man he grew up hearing, and he nodded at the truth in it. That is a very human thing to do. It is the duality that runs through this entire situation. The man OTF is at war with is also the man who made one of the loneliest songs a whole generation of these listeners came up on. Doodie Lo simply refused to pretend he could not hear it. Now let me be clear about what this is not, so nobody runs off with the wrong idea. This was not a peace treaty. This was not a squash of the beef. This was not a collaboration announcement. And it was not Doodie Lo switching sides. Youngboy's camp did not fire back at it, and Durk's camp did not respond to it either. It lived as one viral clip, nothing more and nothing less. It was one man on record saying that good music is good music, and that is where the real story sits. This was never about betrayal. The real story is the one question this whole culture keeps fighting over and never settling. Can you separate the art from the war? Can you hate the situation? Can you stand fully on your own side and still admit that the other man made something great? For years, the loudest voices in drill have said no. They have said that loyalty means you clown everything the other side ever touches, and that even nodding to a good song is a crack in the wall. Doodie Lo stood in the middle of all that noise and quietly answered a different way. He said you can hold your side and still give a great song its respect. He said the two things do not have to cancel each other out. Whether you agree with him or not, that clip is going to keep spreading because it pressed on the one nerve nobody in this beef has ever been able to numb. So I'm putting it in your hands. Was this real, honest respect from a grown man? Or was it breaking the code while his brother sits behind bars? Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.